Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey everybody, this is the Ramble. I'm Alex, and we'll be here until midnight Eastern Daylight Time. Ladies and gentlemen, out to the West Coast, to San Francisco, California, and our old friend Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Larry.
Hello, Alex. I'm having a wonderful time ingesting smoke.
Ingesting smoke? Yeah, you've had those fires out there.
Oh, yesterday it was horrible. Just really bad. So this will probably lead to lung cancer. But
well, even though the smoke is happening upstate, it is wafting down into San Francisco, right?
Yeah, and it was really, I could smell it here when I woke up, and then I went over to Marin. It was really bad over there.
Yeah. So was Marin on fire at all, or was Marin okay?
No, it's like you said, it's north above there, but the smoke blows all the way down here.
Yeah, yeah. Oh boy, that's not fun.
No, and I was reading, didn't a lot of people die from lung cancer from 9/11, like a few years later?
Well, yeah, but there was asbestos in there, and a lot of other things too. And what they're doing is they're still having people make claims, so that if someone was around when 9/11 happened, and then it turned out that they got cancer. The general response to all of that is, well, I guess it was from 9/11, but it might not have been, So we don't know completely. I've never been able to figure that one out. Yeah, I mean, firemen, people who were on the pile, as they call it, coming down with cancer, absolutely. So, other than that, how are you doing? Are you okay?
Yes, it's just, this is a boring way to live with everything closed, but...
Yeah. How are they, what are they doing in San Francisco? Are they still closing everything down?
Well, this week they're supposed to start opening up a few things. It goes county by county, but I think we're going to be able to get haircuts now. So
yeah. I would imagine that tongue kissing is still out.
It's very hard. It's very hard to get laid during a pandemic. Yeah.
No, I think it would be easier to get laid during a pandemic if you already had the virus and then had the antibodies.
Yeah, if you could prove it, that would be you'd clean up.
You clean up.
But how are you going to prove that?
Yeah, no, but you could say, hey, look, here, I have this test I took. See, here's my antibody test. You could probably start that into a whole new prostitution ring. Men without corona or with antibodies. But
yeah, we could start a stable of men and service women all over.
Yeah. Gee, we missed out, didn't we?
I know. We've always bad timing on our part.
Now, do you know anybody who's had the corona?
I don't know one person, no.
No, I don't either. I don't think I know anybody.
Maybe it was overrated.
No, please don't say that. Otherwise, people will get the idea they can tongue kiss.
Well, the latest CDC report was that only of the 170,000 people that died, only 9,000 died of corona. That the other deaths they had corona, but they had at least two other things.
Well, yeah, but it was the comorbidities that made you more susceptible to dying from it, okay? But that doesn't mean that if you didn't get the coronavirus, you would still be alive. You get my point?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, comorbidities were always a factor. a lot of fat people. If you were fat, forget it. You're dying. Okay? If you're obese. They're just all the what they call the comorbidities, which were the underlying factors for the deaths. But, that's why younger people didn't die of it, most of them, because they didn't have any of the comorbidities. They were pretty healthy and, they had a fairly stable immune system. But you take somebody my age who has had cancer, and I'm in that high-risk group. So, yes, I mean, that's very stupid. The CDC's been making some very stupid statements lately,
You don't know what to believe.
Well, no,
apparently if you're a male, you got a much higher chance of dying from this, too.
They made a really idiotic statement a couple of days ago that if you've been exposed to somebody with COVID, but you don't have any symptoms, you don't need to take the test. What? Didn't they ever hear of what we call people who are asymptomatic who give it to other people?
Yeah.
So okay, don't get your skivvies in an uproar. Don't go and get the test, because our president honestly believes the reason we have so many cases is because we have so many tests. And if we did less testing, we'd have less cases.
I guess that's true.
It's absolutely true. It's also sheer stupidity, but it is true. I mean, I'm amazed at the stupidity in most of this that's been going on. But I mean, this is something I suppose we'll remember for the rest of our lives. Your life being probably
that'll be very short. So.
No, your life is probably longer than mine. I mean, I'm 80. I probably could go in the next 10 years, right?
What's the average? What's the life expectancy for an American now? I think it's.
I think it's for a male. I think it's still like 80, 75 or something like that.
I think it might have been bumped up to 78. But...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I wish I were dead. So.
Well, I do be reading these. When they started making buildings in the 70s to conserve energy.
Yeah.
The ventilation on those is so poor. That's become a big factor in this whole virus thing, too.
Well, you have, in the old days, when you had an office building, the way they cooled an office building was you opened the windows and you had cross ventilation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now these things are hermetically sealed. So if you go in there and somebody's got COVID and sneezes, somebody a block away on that building could probably get it,
Yeah, I just heard that today. This guy was saying on the news about how they were built to conserve energy in the 70s, which was a good idea, but now that they're so much more toxic than the old buildings.
Oh, absolutely, and there are here in New York, the governor is suggesting for restaurants that might want to reopen for indoor eating that they get these air purifiers with a HEPA filter that does filter out the coronavirus, or so they believe.
Yeah, this guy mentioned the HEPA filter, right?
Yeah, but it's like a 15 or something like that, and it's very expensive. And not all air purifiers, not all air purification systems can handle it. Okay, so that's the problem. But so far as restaurants opening up, it's really nice to see all these outdoor dining areas they've created that really are kind of pretty, and they've made them look nice and so on. And it's working great. I mean, the restaurant I normally go to had almost the same amount of business outdoors that they once had indoors. Okay? And that's great. Yeah. And I said to him, So business is good? He says, yeah, very good, very good. And I said, what happens when winter hits? Because, in California, winter could hit and maybe you could still eat outdoors, except on a rainy.
Someday, sure.
Yeah. But, and they just get those heaters, and things like that. But here in New York, the dead of winter, 13 degrees. Oh, let's go for some outdoor dining. Impossible. So who knows what's going to happen to the business for these people once that happens again,
Yeah, somebody wanted me to ask you. They said, is it true that people are fleeing New York? Or is that just
I don't know why they're fleeing New York, because New York is, in fact, the safest place to be in the entire United States. We have, we do a lot of testing. And the highest number of tests in one day, I think, was 100,000. All right?
Jesus.
And but usually we're up around anywhere between 55 and that 100,000. And in 3 weeks, we have never gone above 1% infection rate. That means of all the tests done, 1% infection rate, and in one case a couple of days ago, it was a 0.62 or something like that. So we have a very low infection rate. Plus, yesterday in the state of New York, or day before yesterday, because this was yesterday's statistic, in the state of New York, 1 death.
One? Wow.
1 death.
It was hundreds, wasn't it, a few months ago?
And the amount of hospitalizations was down to something like, 450 or something like that. In the whole state, people are hospitalized for COVID. So the best place to be right now would be New York State, but everybody, please stay away.
Yeah.
Okay. But, they are fleeing the cities. There's no question about it. I know a lot of people who have moved to places in New Jersey and in the country, or upstate New York in the country. If I had my choice, I would do that too. I mean, that would be ultimately the safest place. Although, what is it? Western New York has had a spike happen that they're worried about.
What, they're just moving because of the virus, or the?
I think they're moving because, to begin with, I mean, if you came to the city for all the great restaurants, you were living here for the great restaurants, wipe that off your bucket list, okay? Because these
wipe Broadway off the bucket list.
Oh, yeah. Broadway shows, forget it. There is no Broadway. When will all this be coming back? Who fucking knows? I don't think anybody knows. And it's kind of sad. I mean, we're in this situation that's really getting quite dire in this whole country. I mean,
you can't make money.
Well, in San Francisco, things are pretty terrible, aren't they?
Well, people are leaving here like crazy. They're leaving here because they can work from home now. So you move and pay half the rent, and
yeah.
But we had last month, a month ago, we had 12 units in the building. 5 were vacant. So.
Wow. I bet the rents are going down like crazy.
Apparently they're dropping, and there goes my buyout.
Oh, you mean the buyout where they wanted to buy you out of your apartment?
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be worthless pretty soon. So.
They offered you a buyout?
Not in years, no, but apparently if you go to them, and even though it's illegal to go ask if you do, that most of these building owners will, if you're paying cheap rent, will give you something to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, well, maybe it's time for me to move back to San Francisco. I mean, if the rents are getting that cheap.
You should.
Yeah. And have they re-rented those apartments that were emptied out in the last?
There's 3 that are still empty.
Wow. Because in San Francisco, the occupancy rate was pretty bad, wasn't it, at one point? I mean,
Like
pretty low.
99%, yeah, for a while there.
Oh, boy. Well, New York, same thing. But I think New York, it's a little cheaper to get an apartment. And it's been insane. It's just been insane.
Maybe we're heading towards a huge recession or depression.
I think we're already there, my friend. Yeah.
I heard this guy in finance was saying that, everyone, the stock market's going crazy. He said it's not. He said there's like 5 companies that are leading this stock market drive, like Apple and Amazon. He said
That's it.
most of the companies are not making money, and they're in really bad shape, and the banks are in horrible shape.
Well, on that note, that happy
note,
we end another episode of Getting Depressed with Bubs.
sell an Apple.
Thanks, Bubs. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Now in our 6th year, this is GabNet, the Great American Broadcast Network. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Well, hello there. How are you? What's happening? How's your wife and kids? Is everything okay? All right, fine. I don't see anybody in our waiting room right now. There is one person, and it says Fred Socks. And that makes me suspicious. Let me just see for a moment who that might be. Let me admit them and see if it comes up. Okay, there we go. Oh, who is that?
Experience of many years in the House of the
I'm a
Senate
newbie.
or as governors.
Wait a minute. Will you turn down your audio there? Is something you have on?
Oh, yeah,
Government's
sorry.
not a business. Trump doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And that makes a big difference.
Turn that off, will you? Now we can't hear you. Okay. Well, I don't know what that is, but anyway, Robert Natali is here. We'll see if we can get Fred Socks going. Hello, Robert. How are you?
I'm fine, Alex. Yourselves?
Yeah. Hold on a moment. Fred, have you got any audio there? Can you turn on your audio? There you go. Okay. Are you there now, Fred?
Yes.
Yeah. Where are you calling from, Fred? We've never had you on the program before.
No, I'm a first timer. I'm calling from North Carolina.
Oh, okay. From North Carolina. Well, hello, Fred.
Yes, I live here now, but I used to live in New York.
Yeah. Oh, well, it sounds like it.
How could you tell?
Yeah. You're using, you know what you ought to do? We always say this is like a thing we have to teach people to do. You have a light in back of you, so we can't see your face that well. If you could move your camera or whatever away from that light, you see, if you can move to another place, because I think you've got either a laptop.
You stay right where you are.
There we go. Well, that's better. It's just dark.
Yeah. Wait a minute. I got another.
Wait a minute. Turn somewhere where you're facing the light, but the light isn't facing us. This is cinematography 1, right?
Yes.
Wait a minute. There we. Oh yeah.
How's that?
Much better. Much better.
All right.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Fred Socks. Is that really your name, Fred?
No, it isn't. My name's Jim.
Jim. Oh. Well.
But they call you Tommy.
Yeah.
For short.
Yeah, right.
But everyone knew him as Nancy.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
So listen, there's one thing I just want to tell you, Alex.
Yes.
Is that when I grew up in New York City.
Here we go with when I grew up in New York, I used to listen to you when I was a child, right?
Wrong.
Okay.
When I grew up in New York City, I grew up in Harlem.
Oh, okay.
Yes. I lived on 135th Street and Amsterdam Avenue.
Right.
And I believe, if you still are, you're living in Harlem now, aren't you?
Yes, I'm at 116th Street and 7th Avenue.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but it's much different than it probably was when you were living here.
It may actually be flipped.
Well, it hasn't flipped that much, but it's flipped a lot.
Right,
you know.
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
So now I will admit that I listened to you when I was a little fella.
okay. I knew I was going to get that. I knew I was going to get that eventually. I'm getting.
I just wanted to avoid the ribbing that you would give me if I admitted that first.
And hello to Robert, and hello to Jeff Stein, and hello to Josh Wheeler, and hello to Kevin Stopper.
Hi, guys.
These are the rest of the members of the citizen panel tonight.
Right.
And here we go. And I wait for other people to call, and we'll be off to the races. I don't know. I was getting.
Have we started Trump bashing yet?
I'm getting so tired of Trump bashing because
me too.
It's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah. The only thing I'm more tired of is Trump himself.
Well, that too. That too.
Yeah.
I'm just depressed tonight. What else is new? I'm depressed tonight because I'm looking at this new thing that my union is giving us for insurance, and it makes no sense at all. They talk about a health retirement account or something like that, and the money is taken from there, and it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Just tell me, where do I sign up? And if you suck too much, maybe I'll just go out and get a good supplemental plan in the marketplace and leave it at that, right? Like, what do you use, Jeff, as a supplemental plan? Turn on your mic. What?
Yeah, I'm not sure the name of the company, but it's a regular.
Like Aetna or somebody like that, right?
It's one of those, and it's expensive. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I know. How expensive is expensive? Do you know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I got to ask my financial expert.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was beautiful the way it was, but my union decided to get out of the doing this directly, and so I'm being I gotta have some kind of insurance, and I just hope I can kind of cobble together a plan that's like the one we had, but it's like this health retirement account or something that you draw from, and but then you pay all different premiums to all different companies, so none of it makes sense to me. So
I think your insurance is just that company is getting more and more expensive.
Well, no, what happened was SAG-AFTRA had its own plan it had created, and it was a terrific plan. We paid about $2,000 a year, and we got $2,500 dental, and there were a lot of co-pays and stuff. So I have to admit that was a little daunting. So now they're coming up with this thing where we go to this place. It's called SAG-AFTRA Via, whatever, and you go there, and all they are probably is like insurance salesmen. And they're simply saying, well, you want a prescription drug plan? Here's what we got. Here's what's available. Oh, you want your dental? Well, you can get one of two plans, one for $1,500 or another for $2,500 or whatever. And they're probably just selling us insurance is what it turns out to be. And I just don't know if this plan is meant for us, So I'm going to have my wife go look at other possible options because her company will pay for it. So, it doesn't matter what option we take. So, but having to deal with this is depressing because, especially at my age, I need health care. And the fact that we don't have a good health system in this country, we don't have Medicare, which pays 100%. Instead, what we're doing is we got Medicare that takes care of 80%, and the other 20% has to be taken care of by insurance companies who are robbing people blind. Okay?
And we have to pay 20% of it?
Yeah,
anyway?
20% of your Medicare pays 80.
Okay.
There's a 20% that you got to pay for, or you go get supplemental insurance. We had supplemental insurance at work with Marjorie's company, which was Oxford.
Yeah, I know.
But they didn't have a supplemental plan. So her company had to pay $20,000 a year for them to pay 20% of our costs. Yeah, because they didn't have a supplemental
380
plan.
times 12 is about, what, 4,000 or 5,000?
Yeah. 4,000.
$4,000 or $5,000 a year. Yeah. That's about right. I was paying $2 to SAG after it, but as I say, I was paying out of my own pocket. God, I must have paid a couple of $1,000s. So if I don't have as much out of pocket, okay, then maybe we'll be okay. But I don't know. I'll just get sick and make the state pay for it.
It reminds me of the Woody Allen movie Take the Money and Run, where Woody's character commits a crime and gets caught, and his punishment is to have to spend 2 days in a hot box with an insurance salesman.
Exactly. But here we've got a system in this country where if you get sick, if you get sick, you're up shit creek, okay?
Pretty much.
You can, I suppose, put yourself at the mercy of the state, who will somehow get you something, but you want to live, okay? And I've got this whole cancer thing and everything like that, and I'd like it to be taken care of, And I'm fed up. I'm just completely fed up. Yes, Jeff.
Yep. You have
I'm paying
cancer.
$4,000 a year.
4,000 for both you and your wife.
No,
Oh,
just for me.
just for you?
Wow.
God bless it. 4,000 a year?
Medicare for all.
Medicare?
Pam pays more.
Huh?
Couldn't agree more, Mr. Wallace.
Remember, she's under 65.
I mean, we're paying more now than it costs for Medicare for all. We're paying trillions of dollars more.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Yep.
for Medicare, I pay out of my Social Security something like $105 a month or something like that. I don't know how much it is. But so for 80% is costing me like a hundred and change every month. And then for the other 20%, you got to pay $4,000 a year, which comes out to, about $300 a month, right? Yeah. That's such bullshit,
Yeah.
you know.
And that doesn't include dental. That does not include
It
dental.
does not include dental. I'm up shit's creek. I mean, I'll pay it, you know. I'll wind up broke, but I'll pay it. You know, I mean, it's just amazing to me. Just amazing to me. And yeah, I mean, you say Medicare for all. I don't know that Medicare for all. I mean, let's not. Medicare for all is an easy way of saying it. Okay. The better way of saying it, I guess, is single-payer health system.
Yeah.
In other words, hey, you're a citizen of this country. You get sick, you're going to get the best medical care you can possibly get, and the government's going to pay for it. What?
Not exactly.
You know,
Who ever heard of that? Well, England heard of that, and France heard of that, and Germany heard of that, and Denmark heard of that, and Sweden heard of that.
Australia, Japan.
Yep. They've all heard of it. But us? Oh, no. No. You got to make insurance companies rich.
All the opposition to Medicare for all has to say is that dirty little S word, or worse yet, C word. And a lot of no offense intended, but a lot of the older people, they're assholes like Titan, to where you can barely fit a sewing needle through when they hear that dirty little word socialism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Socialism's just a word that people use to scare people not to get things that would help everybody.
Well, if somebody actually knows what socialism is, I mean, you know, what it would do for them, they wouldn't be against it. But nobody's ever made a good
going for them in some cases.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not communism, folks. Communism is an entirely different system, okay? Socialism is like the bunch of us want to get together and we want to let's say we want to buy one car that we can all share. Okay? So, we do that. That's what this is all about. I mean,
I always ask people, do you have your own fire department? Do you have your own, electricity,
Police department?
your own utility? Do you have your own Army and Navy? Like, where do you keep them? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah,
There's
because
so many things that we share because it just makes more sense. Do it collectively.
well, I mean,
Robert,
what? Who?
I was just going to say to Robert what he just said there. So, oddly enough, some mega churches do have their own police department. What was that one in, I don't know, somewhere in the Bible Belt that has their own like police force?
I don't doubt that.
Well, George Lucas has his own fire department at
Wow.
Skywalker Ranch, and he is so nice that he loans it out to the rest of his neighbors to use if they have a
Socialism.
fire or something, But I mean, socialism is not a horrible, terrible thing. That's all. It is simply a matter of, especially when it comes to health. Come on, folks. I mean, if a person can't get access to decent health care, they're going to die. Okay? That's it, plain and simple. Do you want them to die? Is that what it's about? If you say, yes, I want them to die, well then, fuck you. I guess we'll let them die.
That's the Republican health care plan. Just die.
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually can have a little more respect for somebody who says that outright and doesn't like use code words and dog whistle words. I know it's weird, but at least they have conviction, and if they live up to that conviction, I have to say, give credit where credit is due. To a dark extent, I respect them. If they say, yeah, I want the old and infirm to die, and as proof, I don't even pay for my own mother's health care.
Yeah, right.
Or anything like that. I think they're a piece of shit, but at least at least they have conviction.
But I think it's terrible. It's really terrible. And when people need medical care the most is when they're older.
Yeah.
And with the fact that older people aren't able to get it. People say, well, you got Medicare, that's free. No, it's not. I pay about $100 and some odd a month out of my Social Security for Medicare, right? Are you getting Medicare, Robert? No, not yet.
Yes.
So you know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
And what do you do for your supplemental?
Well, my former employee, my school board, entitles you when you retire to buy in to the group as though you were still working. You pay for it, but it's a reduced rate because you're buying in mass.
Mm-hmm.
And so it behooves us to do so, and that serves as our supplemental.
Yeah, but still, how much does that cost you?
Honestly, I'm in charge of investments and that sort of thing around here. My wife handles the insurance. I couldn't quote you a figure.
You couldn't quote me a figure, see? Well, I'll let you know.
A lot of the seniors, that's the first time they ever had health insurance is when they finally make it to 65 and get Medicare.
It's the truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, when you're younger, you don't think very much about health costs, okay? I don't think I started thinking about health costs till I hit 65, and all of a sudden I'm starting to see doctors like I used to see women, one right after the other, and it was. It all changed for me then, and now I have a condition that has to be dealt with on a rather regular basis. I'm probably got rid of the cancer, and it's probably gone. I'm not worried about it, but nevertheless, I still need to keep having checkups, and there might be something else that comes up like that needs dealing with. And I'm sorry, this thing for the prostate cancer ran about $110,000. Okay, of which, I mean, in Medicare would only pay so much, and then their supplemental would only pay so much. But the fact of the matter was, if I didn't have insurance, that would cost $110,000. Now, if Medicare is paying 80% of it, what is 20%
Yeah.
of $110,000? That's about $22,000 that I would owe out of my own pocket. I mean, come on. And we know the hospitals are ginning up the price so they know Medicare is going to come back and say, no, we're not going to pay that. So they gin it up a lot so that Medicare will pay so much. But the fact is, if you've got to pay 20%, because Medicare takes care of 80%, if you have $100 worth of work done, which is not inconceivable, think about it. There's $20,000 right there. How many of you out there have $20,000 you can pull out of your pocket? You know, it's
over half of the medical bankruptcies are by people that have health insurance.
Yeah.
Because of that 20% they have to pay.
Yeah. So, you know, one way or the other, you know, they're going to get you. And who gets rich? The insurance companies. And the reason they get rich is that prior to, I think, Reagan, insurance companies weren't allowed to be profit-making. They were nonprofit organizations. And that's why insurance was, I won't say cheap, but it was certainly better. And once they said, okay, you can make a profit now, all of a sudden those prices started skyrocketing. You know, there was a time when you went to a job and they just gave you health insurance because they could afford it as kind of a perk for their employees to keep them happy. Now, every company you go to work for, Josh, you work at a company, your health insurance, I bet you have to pay a premium, don't you?
Oh, yeah, we got to pay our part, yeah.
Yeah, you got to pay your part. There was a time when you didn't have to, when there just was no such thing. You know, in fact, they say, come to work for us. We have a great health plan. Yeah, you don't hear that anymore. You hear, come to work for us. Do you have a health plan? Oh, yeah, but you have to buy into it. We pay so much and you pay so much. And that's because insurance companies became profit-making organizations. And that's not right. You know, if a car insurance company wants to be a profit-making corporation, I don't care. But I do care when it comes to health. And and it's terrible. People are dying because they don't have the money to pay for it. Fred, how old are you?
I'm 65.
You're 65.
I'm going to be 66 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so you know about this with the Medicare.
I do, and I'm two of the things I'm wondering about is, well, I should tell you a little bit of background first.
Yeah.
I just came off of a 6-year battle. My wife had cancer, blood cancer.
Oh, boy.
And she passed away this year.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 6 years of hard life, you know?
Yeah.
So now that I hit 65, Medicare to me for $105 a month.
Yeah.
Is a joke, really. It's not that much money to be covered.
Yeah.
Plus, you got to add a little more in for the supplemental insurance. I understand that part. But for the most part, but now I've only been on it for a year, but for the most part, it's much better than what I came from.
Right.
So when my wife was sick for the 6 years, we both had insurance, but our insurance costs were up above $6,000 a year.
Oh, jeez. For each of you, or for you together?
For the group, for both of us.
For both of you.
Yeah.
And was she on Medicare at all, or was she?
She was not on Medicare, and she wasn't working either. So
how much?
She was on my insurance.
Okay, so you had your insurance. I don't know who that was through, but it was probably through one of the major carriers.
Yeah, that was through Blue Cross.
Blue Shield. Okay, so you now get these bills. Okay.
Yes.
And you've then got to pay the bill, so you then send your bill to the insurance company, who then sends you a check, right?
In some cases,
Yeah.
It's different. Sometimes if it's a doctor involved, or if it's a doctor and a hospital involved, doctor works for the hospital, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you're right.
Yeah. And so,
but we had to go to the best insurance, and that's why we were paying.
Now, I have no idea how much it was costing to keep her alive for those 6 years, but I would imagine that it was not insignificant.
It was in the million.
Really?
Sure.
And how much? And how much did you have to put out of pocket?
Not as much as you might think. Probably $14,000 to $20,000.
Okay, that was over 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, well, a little more than that, but yes.
I mean, but it's extraordinary.
But we had to pay for it through the insurance company. That's where we pay, you know.
Yeah, because you had to pay the insurance company every month too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So $6,000 every year for 6 years.
And that was for the insurance.
36 right there.
That was for the insurance.
That's just the insurance.
Okay, but then you also had to do some co-pays, right? You had to
do co-pays.
Yes. So you spent
co-insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where you get the 14,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, it shouldn't have. It shouldn't have been. It should have
Well,
been that
you
your
know,
wife got sick, and they said we're going to do everything we can to keep her alive. And you know, when you leave the hospital, there's no place to pay a bill.
Well, I would constantly ask people over the 6 years. I would say, because we have so much trouble going on in our country now, I would say, what would be the first thing that you want if you were going to start a new country? What's the first thing you would want? You would want medical coverage for all.
Right.
If you're for your people, you know.
Yeah.
You want infrastructure. You want roads built. You want those are the important things to keep a nation going. But to keep corporations getting richer and richer and richer, and people having golden parachutes out of the deal, and never having to pay any, restitution for stealing from people over all these years.
Yeah.
You know, they get away scot-free. So that leads to a lot of problems.
There's no question about it. I mean, it's amazing.
That's why our infrastructure is crumbling, because big corporations are taking most of the money.
Robert, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I also think I think a lot about the sort of ghost cohort of people you don't hear about who avoid getting medical care because they simply can't afford to do so, and then wind up with, you know, major complications that in turn cost even more money. In our country, there's sort of an accent on curing disease as opposed to preventing it also. In other countries, doctors are paid to keep people healthy before they get stricken.
Under the British,
like Scandinavian nations.
Well, under the British system, they pay doctors so much a year, something like $200,000. Not an insignificant amount, but they pay them $200,000. But then they give them bonuses based on the health of their patients. So there is an incentive for doctors to keep them healthy, and to do preventative medicine,
right,
rather than take care of the fire once it's started. You know, try and put it out. And that's but we need something in this country. Am I wrong, Josh, or is there any reason in the Constitution we couldn't have single payer health care?
No, there's nothing that would prohibit it.
Right. Why can't we do it? Why does it seem so impossible when England does it, Germany does it, France does it, Sweden does it, Australia does it? What?
Money in politics.
Why can't we do it?
No, that's not really the whole truth. The whole truth is, when we used to be able to do something like that, we were a capitalist plus a democracy, almost a 50-50 kind of balance.
Yeah.
And it worked beautifully for a while. But we're no longer that nation. We are now more like 80 to 90% capitalist and 10 to 20% Democratic.
Well, I would say
That's why it doesn't work
I would
anymore.
say not democratic necessarily, but I would say socialistic, because you've got to remember that after
No, socialistic is just kind of creeping in.
well,
now
hold on.
because-
No, hold on. I'll explain to you
Yeah,
why it's
okay.
socialistic.
Sure.
When we had the Depression, Americans were saying, we got to find a better system than this. This system is not working for us. And a lot of people were thinking, communism, right? So what happened was, to fend off people from getting that notion, Roosevelt came out with a lot of socialistic programs. I mean,
right.
everything he did was basically socialistic. And consequently, we had a combination of socialism going with capitalism, and the two together kind of worked, you know. But now we become so almost, what's the word I'm looking for? We become
Almost purely capitalistic.
well, we're purely purely capitalistic now
Yes.
that it's impossible.
What's killing us?
Yeah, Charlie Wallace and then Brian Ludwig. Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, the reason that, well, I'll tell you what started is when they decided that money was speech. Like, like
Yes.
citizens. I mean, that's because all the politicians have to raise a ton of money in order to get elected. And who's paying the money? And that's whose priorities get paid, are the ones who are paying the money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The average person can't donate $10 million in some kind of PAC to to some senator or governor or whatever.
Yeah.
So the people that can do that,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want single payer, because the healthcare companies are a big part of the ones that are doing it. So we don't get single payer
Yeah. Brian?
because they bought off all the politicians.
Brian?
Charlie basically took my thunder, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin, I know that you have health problems. I don't think we need to argue against that, right? What do you do to take care of your medical bills?
Well, I'm actually one of the lucky ones. I got Medicare, plus I'm on my wife's insurance.
Turn your mic up a little bit. Your mic's a little low.
Let me switch it around here. But I'm on my wife's insurance with Medicare.
Mm-hmm.
I got Medicare, and then my wife's insurance is backing it up, so I don't see bills.
Okay.
Me either.
And she, how did she get that medical? Is she working?
No, I have Medicare.
You have Medicare, and what does she have?
And she works, so
She
she
works.
buys her insurance at work.
Okay.
So I'm on her insurance. She takes care of the other 20%.
She takes care of the other 20% that Medicare doesn't.
That's basically the supplement.
Okay. Because, see, my wife, if you work in a company, I think that has less than 10 employees, you have to go to Medicare. If your wife, say, like if Marjorie's company had like 20 people there or something like that, maybe it's more. I don't know. Do you know what it is, Robert? The number?
Medicare is your primary,
No, no.
whether you
Yeah,
like
everybody
it or
has
not.
to go
No,
to Medicare.
no,
Whether
There
you
is
don't-
no
No,
excuses.
no, I
Yeah,
know
when
this.
you're-
I know this to be not true. Okay, because when I was at Sirius XM, I had an insurance plan through Sirius XM, and Medicare became my secondary. And the reason was the government said that if you work for a company and they have more than a certain number of people, then you go on their medical plan no matter what age you are, and Medicare is only 20%. The minute
Yeah.
you leave that company, then 80% is Medicare. So no, you don't. If you work for a company, you're still working for a company, and I was at 70, 73, 74, and you're getting insurance through them. If they only had like 4 people, no, you'd have to take Medicare as your primary. But if they have something like 10 or more, or 20 or more, I don't know what the number is, then you have to use their insurance, and your Medicare becomes your secondary.
Yeah, and see,
That
I
I
went
know.
on. I went on early because I was disabled.
Okay, So
Yeah, I was on at 62.
So her insurance takes care of your 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. What happened with Marjorie at work? Her company, they had Oxford, and they only had 4 people in the office. Okay, and they were paying for her $20,000 a year. And what I got out of that was both of us, because we're both on Medicare, it just paid our supplementary, where everybody else in the office had paid their insurance. Okay. And we felt that Oxford was really ripping off her company. And Marjorie went to them and said, well, why don't you give us a supplementary? And they said, no, we don't sell that. We don't have that. Not for you guys. So you got to pay the $20,000 and use that as your supplementary or not. So that's when we went over to SAG-AFTRA, who came up with this beautiful plan for like $2,100 a year. And Marjorie said to her company, would you like to save $18,000 a year? And they went, sure enough. And they decided they would pay our the money.
But I understand what I'm sorry, I don't remember your name, Fred. I understand what he was doing, because before I got laid off from my job, that's exactly what I was doing. I was paying $6,000 a year for insurance.
Yeah.
For my family.
Yeah. Another thing on top of that then comes the drug costs.
Oh yeah.
Which is the highest in this nation than anywhere else in the world.
Well, I had a great
There's no need for that either.
Under my old SAG-AFTRA.
Well, and it was the high cost of the insurance, because each year, and I worked for a Fortune 250 company, a huge company, and each year they would come to you and say, well, this year you're going to pay, in the beginning it was 68%. We were going to have to cover, or they were going to cover. And then all of a sudden it was 70%. They were going. Then it was 72%.
Yeah, and the other trick of the insurance companies is the deductibles keep going up.
Yeah,
that's what I meant. Yeah, the deductibles would go up,
and the price of the insurance per year goes up as well.
Yeah, they give you this percentage.
It's like a double.
This is what we're going to cover this year.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to cover this year, and each time it would go up, less and less. Yeah. Your side would go up and up.
Yeah, so this kind of stuff doesn't happen as much in.
So they're not covering as much. The companies
so where does the government step in and say this is unacceptable behavior?
Obamacare. That's where it stepped in.
That was the first.
But it got squashed.
They were trying to do.
Yeah, but Obamacare doesn't really work because he could never get full-throated single-payer health care going. He just couldn't. They wouldn't. They
fell short. Right.
Party was against him on that.
It almost became a competitive thing where it was competition to where how much more money can the company make by cutting the insurance.
Yeah.
They make more money if they're not paying as much of the insurance, and then they dump that on the employee.
Yeah.
And then they cut out more employee, options.
But again,
they had 10 different options. Then all of a sudden they're cutting out Kaiser, and they're cutting out this one, and they're cutting out this one, and they're pulling in some HMO that's really cheap. And then they leave it
capitalistic formula.
Yeah. All these crazy formulas that they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a competition thing, which made the company, the corporation that was you were working for, made them more money because they weren't putting it out for insurance.
That's right.
So I get back to the original question, and that is, why can't we do it here? What is the problem?
Because the politicians have to do it, and they're bought by the health insurance company.
Could it be that it's the same reason we got a COVID problem? The people are selfish in this country, and they don't see an advantage in helping other people and batching together. And wear a mask, give us free insurance. Free health care. Yes, Brian.
Yeah, what kills me regarding Fred's remark about drug costs, what kills me is that from the other side, they're playing. What they'll say is, well, we need to put those extra costs in play to help pay for our research and development, and it makes me laugh my ass off because I think I may have ruined what could have been a good friendship with somebody who lives near me, because when he told me that his aunt works for a health insurance company. I saw pictures of her like in skiing gear, going all these kind of outings, wooing people. That my blood was starting to boil, and I even made the remark, dude, I think she works. I think she kind of is enabling this socialist parasite that is this insurance company she works for. And he didn't like hearing that, and yeah, I had to leave. My temper was just.
But none of this, any solutions you and I might come up with in this discussion doesn't do me any good. I still got to find some insurance to take care of that 20%. And do I go with this thing, which it looks like my union has now just hired somebody to be a go-between between the insurance companies and me? Because it looks like I'm going to have to get my Medicare supplemental from one person. I'm going to have to get my dental from another. I'm going to have to get my prescriptions from yet another. I mean, I got it all under one roof before. I want it all under one roof now. And I wish I had enough money to sue my fucking union for doing this to us.
They're trying that. What you're talking about, Alex, they're trying that for the first time this year.
What?
Trying to get it all under one roof for people who have Medicare.
Yeah, well,
they want to get the supplemental, the Medicare, the dental, and the vision.
I mean, I love
hearing now too.
I love the prescription.
They're willing to pay a little bit for hearing aids now too.
Yeah, the drug problem that we had, the prescription drug thing, cut down my costs on prescription drugs by 2/3, because we were using a thing called what's it called? I can't remember the company. No, it was another company. The big
Express Scripts.
Express Scripts.
They're now Optum.
Oh, they are now Optum?
Yeah.
Or did they buy
I've been
Optum?
on Optum for a decade.
Because Optum, Express Scripts was the biggest prescription drug insurer in the country.
Those folks are now Optum, and Optum had their own thing going on.
Yeah.
I don't think there is an Express Scripts by itself anymore.
Well, there is. You can go online. It's there.
Yeah, but it's still through Optum's people, I'm pretty sure.
But that was great. I love that. I got all my drugs, and every month it came out to like $125 a month, where before it was costing me every 3 months, where it was costing me about $125 every month. So I just see my insurance rates going through the roof. Maybe I just won't get it, and I'll just let myself die.
Well, they'll arrest you first.
Yeah. They'll arrest me first?
Yeah, because you have to have insurance.
Oh, I see.
By law.
Well, not anymore, because the Supreme Court ruled that out.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. When Trump came in, they sued, and the Supreme Court a couple of years ago finally said, no, you cannot have a mandate. You can't make people buy health insurance.
Yeah.
That was a killer, in my opinion, because you didn't have the public option. Rahm Emanuel made sure of that, but also the Republicans as well, and among which include Marco Rubio doing away with the risk corridors. But that killed me, because that told me, and I had this happen to me where I owed the IRS because I couldn't, I didn't really work. It was a bad year. 2018 was a bad year, and I owed the IRS because I did not have health insurance, and so I had a tax placed on me, a member of the working poor, and I'm not the only one who's had this happen to.
Yep.
Talk about austerity. That there is austerity.
Wow.
But you were supposed to get a supplement, and the Republicans killed that supplement.
Yeah.
We blame the Republicans.
I blame both sides, Charlie. I blame
the bill should have been written so they didn't have an option. But
okay. Ready for major socialistic Alex here? My solution to the problem. They go, where are we going to get the money from? More tax on the corporations.
Bezos can afford it.
Because they're the ones who are benefiting from this whole system anyway. They're making a fortune, and they're not giving anything back. Let them give back. That's how we're going to pay for it. You know,
if I could say something.
Yeah.
One of the things that I also learned over the past few years is that people used to hate doctors because they made so much money. The doctors don't make as much
No, they
money
don't.
today as they used to,
No.
because the insurance companies now control the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely control them. So now when you see a doctor in the hospital, for instance, like when my wife was in there, 4 or 5 or 6 doctors would come in each day. Now I'm exaggerating, just to say hello, how are you? A look in your eye, you still have cancer, leave the room, and they would bill the insurance company for that.
Well, I'll tell you, in a way, I feel sorry for the doctors. I know this is going to sound.
No, I understand.
You know,
Yeah.
because doctors actually are making less than they ever have in the past. In fact,
Yes.
so many doctors I know have left their private practice and gone to work for an HMO for a yearly salary.
Right.
I lost one very good doctor to Mount Sinai. I went over there so she could make maybe $200,000 a year and just have a salary coming in all the time, and none of the problems. Although I hear those doctors are even having problems now too.
So the private doctors, to me,
yeah.
Well,
The
the
pri-
private doctors, they can't afford the insurance practice insurance anymore.
And by the way,
That's why they had to go to the corporate hospitals.
One other
Make
factor,
their 200,000.
if you've gone into a doctor's office, go look at how many people are in the billing department.
Yeah.
They got maybe 5, 6 people in the billing department. And I asked my doctor once, why
Yeah.
so many people? They said, you have
Yeah.
no idea how hard it is to get money out of these insurance companies.
And insurance companies hire groups of people to sit down and try to find loopholes so they don't have to pay you.
Yep, yep. You know, I mean, come on. I sent you a check every month for that insurance.
Right. Now you don't want to pay me back.
Pay the fuck up. You know, don't tell me, oh, that's not covered. What?
Yeah.
Cancer's not covered? I'm sorry.
I'm telling you, they hire staffs of people to go through your bill and see,
Yeah.
you know, how they
Oh,
can
you
get
had
around
accident
it.
when you were a teenager.
Yeah,
Pre-existing condition.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by capitalism kind of swallowing democracy.
Well, pre-existing conditions don't hold up anymore, do they?
Well, they will if they end up getting rid of Obamacare.
Yeah, yeah,
Trump's in court right now trying to do it.
yeah. Well, on another subject, let's get off of medical, because this
It's
is
making me sick.
It's making me sick too. You know.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like I said, my blood was boiling before. It just makes me
thank God I got my cancer before my insurance company, my union decided to change its insurance situation. I mean, just I want to kill them.
Sounds like a lovely organization.
I wish I had a lawyer. I would sue them for doing this. There's got to be something inherently wrong, where you took a perfectly good insurance for a company. They said, well, we weren't making money on it. And I'm thinking, that wasn't the idea. The idea was you've got a union membership and you're getting them the best possible deal, and you don't want to make a profit. Fuck it, you know.
Yep.
Our president doesn't seem to like the military, it turns out.
Never did.
This is
Got it in there.
Yeah, this is the latest thing he said.
Bone spurs.
Yeah, that anybody who goes into the military is a loser. Is that one of the things he said?
Yep.
Yeah.
You
And
said that?
yeah, and that
Yep.
Oh my God.
and that anybody gets killed in a war, pretty much as he didn't put it this way, but deserves it. You know.
Wow.
He supposedly said this when he went to France and they were doing that D-Day thing, and he was supposed to go to a cemetery, and he didn't want to go
Because it was raining.
because it was raining, and and what it would do to his hair. That was the best part, right?
Here, I thought he would melt, like the wick, like the Wicked Witch.
Yeah, right. I'm burning, I'm melting. Anyway, the point is that he, of course, denies it emphatically, but, you know, come on. He's a liar, right?
So this is something that was said in private?
This is something that was said. It was said in semi-private because there were about 3 people confirming he said it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. More than 2 people who are of no relation to you say something about yourself. Chances are it's true.
And it was in the Atlantic Monthly, which now Trump says is a loser magazine. and is going to be out of business within a year, which is not true. Supposedly they're quite solvent. He wrote this article, and they had, and oddly enough, Fox, who usually sides with Trump, said, "Yeah, this is true. We checked the story out. It's true."
Wow.
There's a security correspondent.
Huh?
Their security correspondent said that it was indeed true.
That it was indeed true, and and it was vetted through 3 other people.
Yeah.
Supposedly one of which was Kelly, is one of the people that heard it.
Kelly.
Yeah, and they think that he's the one that leaked it. Yes, Brian.
On the subject, on the broader subject of how we always talk about how things weren't that bad under the W. Bush administration versus now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's funny to me that the most controversial thing said about the people who serve in the armed forces by a politician specifically running for president, as I recall in 2004, was said by John. We thought this was controversial when John Kerry said that it was a draft on poor people, which to an extent is true, to a great extent is true, because a lot of the people who enlist, they're not drafted, but they enlist. They might as well be drafted because they have no other economic prospects.
They use that as a way out of their economic situation. Yeah.
And this asshole comes and just, it blows it out of the water with his remarks.
Yeah. We did away with the draft because the draft did not bring about very much goodwill. But at least there was, I think, a kind of equity in that. But in the case of the military now, it's where you go if you can't get out of your dire financial poverty-stricken area.
And there may not be a correlation, but I think it's kind of weird. I'm not suggesting there is a correlation, not to sound like a conspiracy theory nutcase or anything, but I think it's kind of weird. To me, it seems that when the draft was done away with, the nation started to become deindustrialized.
Mm-hmm.
Steel mills started closing.
I think that was part of the plan.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it. Yeah, it sounds like a
so
conspiracy
that people would
theory
be poor and the only job they could get was to be in the military,
or some other form of public service that would entail great risk to them.
Yeah. So
sounds weird.
Yeah. So I mean, but I'm just wondering how this is going to resound with his base. Is his base going to react to this, or are they going to say
nothing changes his base?
Of course, they're cultists.
It's fake news, right?
That's how they are.
No, he's losing the support in the military.
Yeah, but what would it's like they used to say at a used car lot, what would it take for me to get you into this car? I would love to say to some of these people, what would it take for me? What would he need to do for you to finally give up on him?
Yeah.
God knows he's done it all.
Daughters and mothers in front of them, I'm guessing. That's maybe what it takes.
What's that?
Of course, I say, to facetiously answer your question there, Alex, it may take Trump actually physically coming to their houses and fucking their daughters and mothers and grandmothers in front of them.
Yeah.
Rape stop.
And that might not even do it because they might run out and say, "Guess who just fucked my daughter?"
Yeah.
Yes.
The magic sperm.
Yes, Jeff.
Why was it that Senior Bush lost?
The economy.
Some say it was Ross Perot too, drawing too many votes away from the Republicans.
Oh yeah, that would definitely help.
Ross Perot definitely was the spoiler in that election. There was no question about it. And in spite of the fact that by the time the election came around, Ross Perot had lost a lot of his following because of one crazy antic after another, not the least of which was quitting the race and then coming back into it. And that, am I right about that, Josh? Do I have the thing pretty well down about Perot?
I mean, what were you saying about
Perot pretty much, he was a spoiler, but he wasn't as much of a spoiler as he could have been because he just, he did, I think at one point said, "I'm quitting the race." And he got out of the race. And then at the last minute, I think he jumped back in or something like that. But in any event, he was the spoiler. I mean, Bush could have very well won that election if Perot wasn't involved in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he I seem to remember him doing that at the time. I mean, Perot's deal was, I mean, he was kind of in that populist cycle that I've said before, runs around every so many odd number of years. And, people that are really into that, and there is always a small percentage of people that are definitely into that, voted for him. And those messages seem to work with people from time to time. Some people always believe in it, and then you just happen to catch it in the right cycle, like we did last time, and that sort of message, is able to prevail. And at the time, Perot kind of took that vote, and but it didn't win out over, the Clinton message. I mean, that was kind of liberalism's long march from FDR to Clinton or whatever. Kind of ended there. But I mean, I think that was Perot's deal more than anything. It's just, Perot was almost like it was like on a Trump message before Trump. It just was a little bit more coherent, I suppose. I mean, I think Perot actually, even if you didn't agree with him, I think he actually had educated himself on the things that he believed in. I mean, he was a charts and graphs guy, right? I mean, he got made fun of for his, pointy stick or whatever and his charts and graphs. I mean, I don't think Trump could even draw a pie chart. I mean, so,
well, the trouble is, if he drew a pie chart, if he drew a pie chart, he'd eat it before he showed it to you. There always is, yeah. I mean, Perot was that kind of candidate who comes along and people go, "Hey, I want to," like a Brian Ludwig. How'd you feel about Perot? Or you weren't around for that, were you?
That was before I was of voting age.
Yeah.
I thought it was. Yeah, I always thought as I got older, I thought it was kind of interesting.
Yeah, but you've always been the guy who wants to vote for the third party, for the other guy.
Well, I started off as an independent, then I went to Republican, then I was briefly a Libertarian, and then I went back. Then I went to being a Democrat. Still, I'm a Democrat.
Yeah.
But after this election, so that there aren't any,
why all this confusion?
Go back to being an independent.
Brian, why all this confusion? What can I do to get you into this car? I mean, why all that confusion? I was a Republican, and then I was an independent, and then I was a Democrat, and then I was
well, it's called growing up, aging, looking at the world through a different lens as you age.
Because I have always, all my life, been a Democrat.
Well, I also probably won't surprise you to know that I come from a family with a rather eclectic array of political views and beliefs and convictions.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I like.
And let me answer your question. Yeah. What will it take to get me into the car? Into the Biden car?
Yeah.
BYED-IN Biden car, as in Biden.
Buy into the Biden. Buy into Biden. Yeah.
Yeah. Buy into Biden. Yeah. Single pair.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he can go fuck himself. They both can go fuck themselves. They can go fuck each other.
Now,
I'd love to see that too.
Yeah, however, the problem with coming out, there's a difference between being for single payer and coming out for it. That when you're running for president, I don't think that's the kind of thing you come out for.
Well, I'm a single issue. Then I guess
wait a minute. Hold on a second. What you do is you go to single payer once you get elected. You know what I'm saying? And then you can do it
with 8 years of Obama.
Huh? Well, Obama did the best he could, and you remember before him, Hillary Clinton was flogging it in the Clinton administration. She was put in charge of it, and she was looking for the plan. Nobody has been able to get that plan across, and part of it
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced that the Democratic Party is my friend, at least not fully.
Well, no, but let me put it this way. They may not be your friend, but the Republicans are definitely your enemy.
Well, yeah.
Okay. And the point is that we somehow have to be able to get these people to say, okay, let's go for it now. But
the way people are single issue voters about abortion on the right, single voter issues on cultural issues, so too am I rapidly growing into becoming a single issue voter on the left in regards to Medicare for all.
Well,
wonder how many of those
nobody's
180,000 people
what
were single issue abortion people that
really
died of COVID.
A good riddance. Thin the herd, as far as I'm concerned.
That's what I'm saying. But the people like that, they're killing themselves.
Let them.
Yeah, but the point is that that I don't know. I just don't understand. I think I was making a point earlier, and I guess I didn't get to express it completely, and that was that the whole question of why we don't have single payer in this country is the same reason some people don't wear masks in this country. Wearing a mask has even become an issue, is pure and utter selfishness, that we can't think in terms of the person that we live next door to and what's good for them. Robert, would you agree with that? That it's an endemic American trait that we're selfish.
I don't know either way. I really don't. I think everybody, first rule of economics, isn't it that everybody acts on behalf of their own utility, right? So I don't know that selfish has come to mean I give a shit about me and not you. I'm not sure you can't be selfish to some extent without also caring about your fellow man.
If you want to be completely selfish, you should be for single payer. Right?
Yeah.
Because you want it for you. Anybody here not want free medical care? Is there anybody in this group?
We all.
Yes.
I would like to ask Brian a question just to see what his take on this is. Brian, you'll agree that there are more than one issue out there that we need work on, okay? Like COVID, the economy, unemployment, global warming, so forth. Isn't there a chance that being a single issue voter makes politicians not say anything definitive at all for fear that they're going to either lose you or Joe Blow because he's pro-life, or Tom Smith because he's a Green Party-ish
I already have an answer for you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, please.
Here's the answer. Biden has already been on record as saying he would veto Medicare for all legislation if his own party, people like Ocasio-Cortez or Bernie Sanders, were to put it on this table, ready for his signature. He said he would veto it. He not only said this once, he said this twice, and he's on the record as having said this. So right. There's that. But also, what I want to go on further, a little further, in that you all, most of you all are of the Boomer generation, my father's generation, my mother's generation. You all remember when the country was industrialized for better, and you all were alive and adults when it became deindustrialized. My generation and the generation below me, Generation Z, we grew up in a rapidly deindustrializing country. And we grew up being promised this and that if we went to school, for example, if we went to college. Fuck the trades. We were told, fuck the trades. You're more evolved than that. But now, now that we're in our 20s and in our 30s, some of us, and even in our early 40s, we're finding that not only do we have a useless piece of paper with a useless college degree and a useless major, but we're also got all kinds of school debt, and now we have no real prospects, no real job prospects, as well as a shit ton of medical debt for those of us who aren't as healthy as.
Okay, but in a way, I think maybe you just made my point, because if Biden hadn't have said those things and played the straight and narrow and just given everyone a bunch of mumbo jumbo, you wouldn't dislike him as much as you do. Do you see what I mean? Like, in a way, we're kind of creating a system where it doesn't behoove a politician to take a stand on anything because, you've got your own personal checklist. Well, he's for defunding the police. Okay, I'm in favor of that. He's for, blah, blah, blah. I'm in favor. Oh, he's pro-life. Well, that checks him off. Well, then the politician's in a position where it behooves him not to take a stand on anything. And then you and I will complain that what we're getting from the two major parties is nothing but pablum. You know what I mean? In a way, we've kind of created that.
I think there's a point that Robert is making here, Brian, and I have to kind of agree with it, and that is you have to take the totality of the person. There may be individual things that you don't like. Sure, I could say, hey, he doesn't want Medicare for all, screw him. But he does want a bunch of other things that I do want. So what do I do?
Such as?
But there's no such thing as a perfect candidate. Well, he wants
what does he want that you're in agreement with? Because all I hear from the Democratic side are a bunch of platitudes and feel-good speeches. Oh, vote for us because at the very least we're not Trump. Well, you're the people and the establishment Republicans.
Well, I think he wants to grab a hold of the COVID crisis by the neck and do something about it. That's one good thing.
A national mask mandate, which I'm in agreement with. Here's the thing, though.
No, but all I'm saying, all I think that Robert is trying to say is that you're really holding his feet to the flame on one issue.
Damn right.
On one issue. On one issue. But what about all the other stuff? What about all the other stuff? That one issue
blossoms into other issues, a multitude of other issues.
Like what?
Job security, income security.
How do you guarantee people job security?
Well, for one thing, if you're the employer, then you don't have to worry about paying exorbitant fees for medical coverage for your employees.
You're back to the same issue.
What's that?
You're back to the same issue, medical coverage.
Yeah.
I'm saying that there are 10, 20 issues.
It blossoms. That one issue is like a spinal column.
Do you believe in Biden's stand on race relations?
Rhetoric-wise, of course I do.
Okay. Well,
rhetoric-wise,
you're going to get that, but maybe you won't get the
His voting record proves that he's pretty much a hypocrite. His voting record proves that.
Yes.
Whose voting record doesn't prove?
Kevin, did you have your hand up?
Bernie Sanders is.
Okay. You had your hand up though, didn't you, Robert?
Yes, I agree.
Robert? You had your hand up there?
No, I did not.
Oh, you did not?
I have my hand up.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out whose hand I saw up. Yes, Charlie.
Yeah, I was going to say, we know for a fact that either Trump is going to be elected in November or Biden. There's nobody else that has even a prayer of a chance. So you also know that Trump is going to be even worse than Biden on health insurance. He wants to get rid of the ACA altogether. He wants to bring back pre-existing conditions where you can't get health insurance no matter what. So, I mean...
There's your choice, Brian, is what he's saying.
Well, maybe it takes another spin through hell for us to come to the conclusion.
180,000 people died because of this last spin through hell.
I don't know about you, but I don't want to go through another spin through hell. I'm sorry. I don't want it. I can't take it. And,
Who does? But when you got a candidate that says nothing will fundamentally change, well, what hasn't changed pre-2016 is what got us Trump to begin with. And all purposes and concerns, it looks like we may be getting 4 more years of Trump, whether I decide to vote for Biden or not.
Okay. Well, your vote isn't going to change much of anything, so have at it. But hey, there's the theme song.
Matter or change things.
Yeah, everybody. I want you to all have a nice Labor Day weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, and then go do what you got to do. By the way, nice having you here, Fred. Would you come back again, please?
Oh, absolutely.
Now that you know how to do it, Fred, please do it. Okay?
Yes, I do. And I want to say one more thing to you, Alex.
Yes.
I know you that shtick about how you jump on people who used to listen to you when you were when I was younger or you were younger. But would you rather have me listen to a Barry Grant or a
yeah. Well, Well, I knew Grant. So
Take it as a compliment.
I knew Grant, and I liked him as a person. But that's another story.
I think I meant his political beliefs.
Anyway, thank you very much, Fred. Thank you very much to Robert. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it, Josh. Appreciate it, Kevin. Appreciate it, Brian. And appreciate it to Charlie Wallace. All of you, have a nice weekend off. I'll be here on Monday afternoon. I think I'm going to still do my 4 o'clock thing just for the hell of it on the Labor Day and see if anybody wants to do it with me. So you might join us for that. Otherwise, goodbye, everybody. I'll see you later. Okay, there they go. That's our citizen panel, ladies and gentlemen. And another citizen panel will be forming right after this with Jack Bishop as he does a program, yes, called The Intersection. And he'll be taking your calls. In the meantime, I'm out of here. I'll see you again. I'll see you maybe Monday at 4, but I'll see you definitely Tuesday night at 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Same station in life. And in the meantime, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? And be safe out there and wear a mask and don't get close to somebody at the beach this weekend, okay? Socially distant.